The hurricane season is in high gear, but 1 year after Hurricane Irma, some islands ravaged then are still hurting now. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kenil Gale. Thanks for joining us this week. We begin with a special report. On September 5, 2017, Hurricane Irma, the most powerful system the Caribbean has ever seen, hit St. Martin, the small island France shares with the Netherlands. At least 11 people lost their lives on the French side. Thousands fled to mainland France in the coming days and months. Many are yet to return. France 24's Chris Moore and Julie Duglinoff recovered the aftermath of Hurricane Irma and witnessed locals struggling to come to terms with the scale of the destruction. A year on, they returned.
Everything changed. The bedroom, everything gone. The doors, I was like, where was it? I didn't even find the remnants of the door. That day, the 5th of September 2017, I was standing in my kitchen and I saw these birds. They call them man of war. They are blackbird, a lot of them. And they keep going in a direction, that's the direction where the hurricane came from. My mother and my grandmother would tell us, on Oran Bay there's a hole, we call it the chateau.
When the sea go off, and she turn over and come in, she go inside of that long hole. But when she's coming out, you hear a big, tremendous noise.
In a hurricane, you can always tell it gets louder and louder.
Irma was the worst hurricane I has ever seen in 90 years. St. Martin must come back. This is our island. This is what belongs to us.
The aptly named Sandy Ground, a slither of land between sea and lagoon. It's here on the French side of this little island that Hurricane Irma hit hardest. And 1 year on, the houses and streets are much as it left them. Barely a building survived unscathed.
All these things gotta be picked up. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to be done here in Sandy Ground. Lots of work to be done here.
Former district leader George Richardson is 67 and has lived here all his life. He runs an association that helps the marginalised.
Sandy Ground has always been a district that went to come to the local authorities. I've been always left for the last.
35,000 people live on the French side of an island which lived through colonialism and slavery. Sandy Ground is home to immigrants from across the Caribbean. Most here live off basic benefits. Work is often over the border on the Dutch side. This is a transient population on the sidelines of the system.
We can't get insurance for our homes down here because we don't have the title for our land. And that was is making the problem. You got people living down here over 70 years.
When Irma struck, 60% of households here were uninsured. With cyclone season once again upon them, residents are digging into their own pockets or relying on charity to patch up their homes.
What's it, my brother? Everything all right? Okay, man.
Here, conversations are in English, rules in French.
This country is not an independent country that everybody could do what they want. We got to listen to France. If we want the money from France, we got to listen to France. That's the situation here in St. Martin because we just don't know our rights. We can't speak the French good. So everybody that comes in that can speak the French, they realize we're not speaking the French and they turn us around.
So every time I go to the office, always busy. Always busy. So I don't depend on the world, I depend on God. Period.
The future here is uncertain. Paris has declared Sandy Ground an at-risk area. And the fear is the local government will now call time on construction. Officials want to see an end to homes like this one, close to the water, already flimsy, and now hurricane damaged.
The patio was totally destroyed. This is all debris from Irma. All that was carried by the sea.
Maribel comes from the Dominican Republic and was evacuated at the last minute as Irma stormed in.
Thank God I'm alive. That's the most important thing. If I stayed here, I'd have been killed.
Now home alone with her dogs, Maribel used to spend her days working menial jobs in hotels.
Everything here depends on tourism. But since the disaster, the few visitors that have come have done so just to see the level of destruction. Without tourism, we'll all suffer.
Sin turismo, esto cae.
With historic industries like salt production long gone, islanders are almost entirely dependent on tourism. Visitors arrive here on the Dutch side aboard international flights, or the huge cruise liners that dock in Philipsburg's deepwater port. On the capital's seafront, Irma seems a distant memory.
Our main income is from the cruise ships, which we have, because in the season, we have up to like minimum 6 ships, maximum maybe 9 ships in one day. So we cater to more than 10 to 20,000 people in a day. Basically, if you come to St. Martin, you can guarantee you're gonna have a good time.
In 2010, the Dutch side of the island became a constituent country of the Netherlands. Unlike the French part, it's outside the EU. Big tourist infrastructure, permissive nightlife, and low-tax shopping pull in the crowds, most of them from the United States.
So far it's been beautiful. Nothing but beautiful beaches, nice people like my man Lenny here.
No, and if you don't get it from Lenny, you don't get it from Annie.
How close to back to normal do you feel you are?
Well, I'll say about like 60%, man. At least a 60-70%. Yeah. They're taking a little more time on the French side. I don't know if it's because of the French government and all that, but it's taking a little more time. It's like nothing's being done.
The Dutch part of the island boasts a GDP twice that of its neighbour. The rivalry between the two goes back centuries. The French side once counted on visitors crossing the open border in search of gastronomy and relaxation. But a year after Irma, the streets of the capital, Marigot, just 11 kilometres from Philipsburg, are quiet. Benedict has lived here since the 1980s. She's what's known as a metro, someone originally from mainland France.
That one's closed, that one I've completely restored, and the one over there's shut.
Thanks to insurance money, Benedict and her husband reopened their boutique just 2 months after Irma. But they remain angry at those involved in the lawlessness that followed the hurricane.
If it hadn't been for the looting, everything would have gone quicker. The looting was hellish.
It killed us.
The whole street behind us was looted, and so was this shop. And the ones over there was nothing left.
It was horrible, like a war zone.
With tourists absent, the couple are relying on local customers, who by and large have less money to spend.
Here's the truth. How many sales have we made today?
5 sales.
Benedict meets her friend Isabelle, who's returned from Canada.
There's hardly any flats left here, and the ones that are, they've doubled the prices.
Isabelle left after Irma, like 8,000 others with the means to do so.
The island will recover little by little.
The problem is the hotels are all still closed. And the cruise line passengers, well, we never see them.
They don't come to Marigot.
The people who lived here are all gone. Look at Isabelle. She went. Does it look like there's anyone here?
There's widespread frustration here that life is yet to return to normal. Much of the criticism is directed at the authorities, both local and in mainland France. After Irma, Paris promised at least 500 million euros in aid. But the president here says most of that was spent on the relief operation rather than reconstruction.
J'ai quand même eu 50 millions pour le fonctionnement. I did receive 50 million for public services, 15 million to repair schools, and 6 million for housing. Is it enough? No, it's not. But that's what we've got. Either you have money to rebuild, or you pick up your suitcase and go looking for it. I've been going to conferences, trying to attract investors to bring more hotels here. How can you expect somewhere that lives 95% from tourism to function if there are no more rooms?
In 2007, Saint-Martin became a French overseas collectivity after voting for more autonomy over its affairs and, crucially, taxes. This is Paris's man in charge of reconstruction in France's hurricane-hit Caribbean islands. He's assessing the recovery ahead of a scheduled visit by French President Emmanuel Macron.
Watch where you put your feet. You see? It's quite striking, isn't it?
Monsieur Gustin says that for the autonomous government here, rights come with responsibilities.
The state can do many things, but it can't be a substitute for the collectivity, which has the means for reconstruction, if not necessarily the equipment. Most tourists won't come here unless the island is clean. If there are still wrecked cars on every street corner, a lot of work still needs to be done. And that's the collectivity's responsibility, to get the island going in the right direction economically.
The collectivity is hoping 800 of a possible 1,300 hotel rooms will be available for the next tourist season. It starts in November. It seems like a tall order, but the island's holiday and building industries have swung into action.
Don't touch the barriers. We don't want anybody getting in there.
Yeah, we'll just have to look out if it starts getting windy.
In Grand Case, Jean-Francois is rebuilding his hotel. He wants it to be more resistant in the face of ever stronger hurricanes. After 25 years here, he says he never considered leaving, despite the wreckage.
We're experienced. This is our 9th cyclone. Why would we give up? Look at this, it's the most beautiful spot in the world.
Supplies have been a problem, with everything arriving slowly by boat. But for some locals, this has been a rare opportunity to find a job.
We have 100 people working for us. We've done a lot of hiring. Mainly locals from the island who weren't necessarily in the industry before. And we have a more experienced staff who are helping them learn the building trade.
I had no choice. There's no more kitchen work. Us young people want to work. We don't want to sit around doing nothing.
Most of the builders at the hotel come from sandy ground. We head back there to meet Jeremy. He's well known in these streets thanks to his rap outfit, Mad Tooth.
We're gonna fly away. So what's going on here, man? What up, man? Yo, sandy ground, wanna say the girls them, why? Wicked summertime!
Jeremy returned to Saint-Martin after 7 years in the US, where he got into gangs and ended up in jail. He says the neighbourhood's reputation hasn't changed.
They say Sandy Ground's a bad neighbourhood, that if you come here, people will rob you. All kinds of stories.
Let's go.
These days, Jeremy runs a charity for the area's young. It helps out with homework, produces a local magazine, and repairs bikes. They're the only way to get to school for some of these children.
When we're fixing all the bikes, we're going to tell Elvis to go for it and fix it, okay? You got a bicycle?
Jeremy says his work is all about putting sandy ground on the map.
We want to show that we exist, that we're part of the Caribbean. Everything we do is about creating our identity.
On essaie de créer notre identité, tu vois.
This is one of the walls we painted with the kids.
Irma a juste montré la réalité de ce qu'on vivait avant.
Irma just exposed the reality of what we were already living. Maybe we lost, but we didn't lose much because we didn't have much in the first place. The future is to get over the idea that this is a problem neighborhood. Since I got back, we've worked and worked. I haven't taken a day's holiday, but everything we do comes from the heart.
Irma laid bare the contrast that exists on this remote speck of land. Slowly but surely, tourists are returning, and locals rebuilding lives, homes and hotels. But the threat of another hurricane is never far away.
Company news comes up next. Then later, BATV-produced documentary hits the big screen in Toronto and Port of Spain. More on that closer to the end of the show. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Here is this week's company news.
Mexican-based company Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacifico GAP is the preferred bidder for the privatization of the Norman Manley International Airport. GAP currently has 50-year concessions to operate, maintain and develop 12 international airports in the Pacific and central regions of Mexico. While its subsidiary owns about 75% of MBJ Airports Limited, operators of the Sangsa International Airport. GAP was selected after a process of evaluation and subsequent approval by Cabinet. When the agreement is finalized, NMIA will be operated under a 25-year concession with an option to extend the arrangement by an additional 5 years. During the period, GAP will be responsible for fully operating NMIA and improving the efficiency of both landside and airside operations, financing and completing the planned modernization and expansion, and maintaining and upgrading the facilities of the airport. The government of Jamaica anticipates the execution of the concession agreement by November 2018. Supreme Ventures Limited has appointed a new CEO for its subsidiary Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited. Major Hugh Blake's appointment became effective early last week. In a release to the media, Supreme Ventures Limited said Major Blake is an accomplished professional and accomplished officer of the Jamaican Army and currently serves on the Corporate Governance Committee of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. Prior to joining Supreme Ventures, he served as General Manager of Jamaica Cane Producers Sales and in a range of capacities in corporate companies such as Lascelles Democrado Limited.
Let's now take a look at the closing numbers from the major stock markets around the world. When we come back, some of the week's top stories from the BATV News Desk. So stay with us. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ has started releasing additional information about the sale of US dollars on the local market. The central bank says the move is to foster increased transparency. The BOJ is now releasing the buy and the sell rates of all the major banks and cambios along their spreads. That is the difference between their buy and the sell rates. The Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, recently criticized local banks for having the highest spread in the Caribbean and one of the highest in the world. Javon Keys tells us more.
The US currency was sold yesterday for an average $137.05 for $1. Most entities purchased the currency for an average $136.30. That puts the overall trading spread for yesterday, which refers to the difference between the selling and purchasing price, at 86 cents. The total volume of US dollars sold was $41.98 million, while $59.48 million in total was purchased. For authorized dealers, Citibank bought for the highest rate at $137.12 for $1. JN Bank Limited purchased at some $6.04 less for $131.08. First Caribbean Bank sold for a high of $138.09, while NCB sold for a low of $136.76 in the grouping. For Cambio's COK Sodality Cooperative Credit Union purchased at the highest at $137.21. They also sold for the highest in the category at $137.58 for $1. Global Exchange Foreign Exchange Limited purchased at a comparatively low rate of $107.19, while Community and Workers of Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union sold for the lowest at $128 for $1 in the category. Meanwhile, Bank of Nova Scotia Jamaica purchased the highest volume of US dollars compared to all dealers, that's $12.59 million worth, while the National Commercial Bank saw the most US in volume at just over $10 million. The trader with the highest spread was JMMB Bank Jamaica, which amounted to $5.79, while MF&G Trust and Finance had the lowest at 3 cents.
The government is pleading with commuters for patience as the simultaneous road projects across the corporate area continue to result in regular traffic gridlock. Shana Small reports.
Minister Vaz says the JLP administration inherited a $350 million loan from the Chinese Exim Bank under the Major Infrastructure and Development Program, and they were running out of time to use it.
Well, let me make it very clear that the government of Jamaica, when coming to office in 2016, was forced with a situation of use it or lose it.
He says if the government did not use the loan, the Chinese would have taken it back.
What we found is that a number of the projects were not as advanced as they should have been, especially the major projects that were to be carried out by China Harbour Engineering Company. I speak specifically to Mandela Highway, Constant Spring Road, Hagley Park Road, and of course, the 3 Mile bypass. So we have a timeline in which to complete it. If not, the loan will be withdrawn, and what we'll have is unfinished infrastructure which we cannot afford. So let me just make it categorically clear that we have been forced to do what we are doing, and what we want to do is do it in as seamlessly a manner as we can.
He's therefore asking the public to bear with the government while it works to improve the nation's roads. In the meantime, he says the government is considering ways that will help to reduce the traffic in the corporate area.
Do we stagger school hours? Do we stagger business hours? All of those need to be taken into consideration. Carpooling, special arrangements with the JUTC for specific areas that are congested, so that workers can access rather than all having to drive.
Ping's distributors fabric and food department at its warehouse on Ashenheim Road in St. Andrew went up in flames Tuesday morning, leaving the company counting millions of dollars in damages. It's believed the fire started at an adjoining business on the property. Jamila Maitland reports.
Firefighters are still trying to extinguish flames of a fire that started on Ashenheim Road. Behind me is the scenes of part of the warehouses of Ping's Fabric and Atlantic Hardware.
Ping's distributor, owners of the property, said they were called early this morning to respond to a fire at one of their warehouses. An exhausted operations manager of Ping's Fabric, George Beckford, explained what happened.
I can't put words to it. Frightening when we got the call minutes to 1 this morning to say the warehouse was on fire. I don't even know how I got out of the house, but I found myself on the way driving down, and we came here. It was crazy. An inferno at the back there, fire way high above the roof.
He said even though the company won't know the final figure for some time, the loss is expected to be in the millions of dollars.
We lost one warehouse, which was at the rear of the property, and there we had manufacturer's item mainly, mattress, springs and shoddy and sponge and polyester fiber. We had auto upholstery. We lost some equipment there. A forklift was inside there, a rolling machine, a sponge shredding machine, and lots of other fabrics.
Mr. Beckford said the team offloaded a new container into the warehouse just yesterday, but that container and its contents are now gone.
Right now we have 2 containers in the yard. We offloaded one yesterday, just yesterday, and those goods were packed down in that warehouse that is totally wiped out by the fire.
When we come back, dancehall's Asian ambassadors invades Canada and Trinidad. More WBR after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. It's a special week for the WBR and Business Access television team. The documentary Dancehall's Asian Ambassadors, which was produced by the team last year and aired right here on BATV, has been accepted in the Caribbean Tales International Film Festival in Toronto, Canada. It's the feature film on the night of Wednesday, September 19th. That night is a Jamaican-themed night and will feature other short films from Jamaican directors. So if you're in Toronto, come on down to the Royal Cinema Theatre on College Street at 7 p.m. After that, it's over to Trinidad and Tobago, where the film will be screened in the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. Screenings are at Movie Town in San Fernando on September 22nd, and the next day, September 23rd, at Movie Town in Port of Spain. Looking forward to seeing our Trini friends. So here's a quick look at the documentary trailer.
So some people say, oh, Japanese are take over dancehall. Yes, because we're serious. This is my life.
Jamaican people cannot stop reggae music going to global.
They must say she can't dance because she are Japanese. I just fix it and just work hard.
Somebody in Jamaica have to do something to preserve the musical heritage of Jamaica.
And that's where we leave things this week. On a programming note, we're off next week. So on behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Keneal. See you next time.